The junkyard was silent under the twin moons. Broken ships, twisted metal, and burned-out machines filled the land like the bones of giants. The air was heavy with dust, and strange insects crawled over the piles of forgotten things. No one, ever, came here at night. It was a graveyard of old worlds. But tonight, there was a sound. A weak sound. A cry out at first. It was so soft that even the desert wind almost carried it away. But in the middle of silence, that tiny voice became sharp, like a knife against the ear. A man stopped walking. He was a scavenger, a human who searched the junkyard for metal he could sell. His clothes were dirty, his hands cut from sharp steel. But his eyes were always sharp. He was used to hearing rats and wild animals here. But this sound was not an animal. It was something else. He froze. "Is someone there?" he whispered into the dark. No answer. Only another cry, this time weaker. Almost fading, his heart beat faster. He moved between the piles of broken machines, pushing away a heavy door that leaned against a wall of scrap. The sound grew louder. It was close now. Then he saw it. Between two broken engines, lying on the cold ground, was a shape. At first, he thought it was a doll, thrown away like trash. But then the eyes moved. They were not human eyes. The shape was a woman at least. She looked like a woman. Her skin was pale silver, glowing faintly under the moons. Her hair was long and white, tangled with dirt and wires. Strange marks covered her body like patterns of stars written on her skin. But her legs did not move. Her arms lay useless beside her. She was paralyzed. Her lips trembled, and again the weak cry came out. The man stepped back, fear burning in his chest. This was not human. This was alien. He should run. Everyone knew aliens were dangerous. If her people came looking for her, they would kill anyone who touched her. And yet, she looked broken, weak, dying. Her eyes locked onto his, and in those eyes there was no threat. Only fear. Only pain. The man swallowed hard. He could leave. No one would ever know. She would die here, and he would be safe, but he could not move. Something inside him refused to walk away. He stepped closer, slowly, like someone approaching a wild animal. "Can you hear me?" he whispered. The alien woman blinked. A tear rolled down her silver cheek. Her voice was broken, almost nothing. But he heard it, a single word: help. The man's chest tightened. He looked around. The junkyard was empty. Whoever left her here had gone long ago. Her family, her people. Why would they abandon her here, helpless? He bent down. Carefully, he touched her shoulder. Her skin was cold, too cold for life. She was fading fast. "I can't carry you," he muttered to himself. "You're too heavy, too strange." But when he tried to pull his hand away, her fingers twitched. They brushed his wrist, weak but desperate, like a dying flame trying to hold on. His throat went dry. "If I take you, they might kill me," he whispered. "If I leave you, you'll die alone." The alien woman closed her eyes, but her lips still moved. She whispered again, the word like a knife cutting into his heart: "Help." The man closed his eyes. He cursed under his breath. Then, with all his strength, he slid his arms under her fragile body. She was cold, lighter than he expected, and she made no sound except a weak breath. He lifted her out of the shadows. The junkyard creaked around him. The air grew heavy, like the ground itself was watching. For the first time, he felt truly afraid. But something else happened as he carried her. Her head leaned against his chest. And then, in his mind, he saw something, an image that was not his own. A flash of stars. Scream. A group of tall silver beings turning away, leaving her behind. In the junk, the vision burned into his mind. He stumbled, almost dropping her. What was that? he gasped. The alien woman's eyes opened just a little. She looked at him with sadness, as if to say, "Now you know." The man's skin went cold. She was not only paralyzed, she was not only alien. She was inside his thoughts. He held her tighter. He did not know what she was, why she was here, or why her family had abandoned her. But he knew one thing. If he left her behind, he would never forgive himself. The man turned, carrying her deeper into the junkyard, searching for a safe place to hide. But behind him, in the far distance, the sound of engines stirred in the night sky. Someone or something was coming, and they were not friendly. The night was cold. The wind whistled through the piles of broken metal like ghosts crying between the ruins. The scavenger's arms ached as he carried the alien woman, but he did not stop. Her silver skin was still cold, her breathing shallow. Every step felt like a war inside his mind. He could leave her. He should leave her. That was the safe choice. But every time he looked at her face, he remembered the single word she whispered. Helped he reached a small shack he had built long ago from scrap metal. It was his only shelter in this wasteland. He pushed the heavy door open with his foot and stepped inside. The air smelled of oil and rust. It was dark, but safer than outside. Carefully, he laid her down on a rough bed made of cloth and wires. Her body was still, her eyes half closed. She looked less like a dangerous alien now and more like a broken bird. The man paced the room. His thoughts screamed at him. What am I doing? If her people find me with her, I'm dead. If she dies here, I'm a fool. If she wakes up and kills me, I'll never even know why I saved her. He rubbed his face with his dirty hands. His heart wanted to believe she was innocent. But his mind knew better. Nothing good came from aliens. Then, it happened again, a flash inside his head. Not his memory, hers. He saw her lying in a bright silver room, her family standing over her. They looked like her, but taller, stronger, their eyes colder than ice. He felt her pain, her voice screaming. Without sound, as they turned away, they carried her to a ship, dropped her body among the junk, and left without a word. The vision cut off, leaving him breathless. He staggered, holding the wall for balance. His hands shook. He looked at her again. She had not moved, but her eyes were open now, watching him. "You did that," he whispered. "You put that in my head." She blinked slowly, as if to say yes. He sat down beside her, his chest heavy. "Why me? Why show me? I'm just a man who digs through garbage." Lips moved, but no sound came. She was too weak. Instead, another image slid into his mind. This time, it was him holding her, carrying her away from the junk, his face filled with determination. He was her only chance. The man cursed under his breath. "So that's it. I'm the fool who picked you up. And now I'm the only one." Left, her eyelids fluttered, and a single tear slid down her silver cheek. He stared at her for a long time. In her eyes, he saw no weapon, no trap, no lie. Only fear. Only hope. The man sighed. "Fine. I'll help you. But don't think I trust you. Not yet." He tore a piece of cloth and dipped it into a jar of water. Gently, he cleaned the dirt from her face, the wires tangled in her hair. She closed her eyes, and for the first time, her breathing grew steadier. Hours passed. He fixed a broken heater from old ship parts and set it near her bed. Warmth filled the room. Her skin stopped feeling like ice. He sat beside her, staring into the flickering light. But in the silence, doubt returned. What if she's dangerous? What if this power inside her is a trap? He looked at the door. He could still walk away. Leave her here, close the door, and forget. This night ever happened. His hand even touched the door handle, Then her voice came. Not from her lips, from inside his head. "Don't leave." The words were soft, broken, almost fading. But they pierced his heart deeper than a blade. He froze. I turned back. Her eyes were open, glowing faintly in the dark. She was looking straight at him, not begging, not commanding, simply asking. For a moment, the scavenger felt something he had not felt in years: purpose. He was not just a man in a junkyard anymore. He was someone who had been chosen, even if by accident, to hold another life in his hands. His jaw tightened. He stepped away from the door and walked back to her side. "All right," he whispered. "I won't leave. But if I help you, then you survive. You hear me? You don't die here. Not while I'm still breathing." The alien woman blinked once. A single spark of light shone in her eyes. The scavenger sat down beside her, his body heavy with exhaustion. He did not know what tomorrow would bring. He did not know why her own people wanted her dead. He did not even know her name. But he had made his choice. Outside, the night grew darker. And far away, beyond the junkyard hills, lights appeared in the sky. Strange ships moved slowly through the stars, searching. They were coming. The scavenger did not sleep that night. He sat near the broken heater, staring at the alien woman on his bed. Her breathing was steady now, but her body still did not move. She looked fragile, almost human, but the visions she had pushed into his mind were anything but human. He kept replaying them. Her family, tall and cold, leaving her in the junkyard. The silver room. The silent scream. And then the emptiness. Why would her own kind do this? What was she hiding? The scavenger rubbed his eyes, but when he closed them, another flash burned into his mind. He saw stars spinning, planets burning, and something massive unfolding like wings of fire. He gasped and opened his eyes. His chest was wet with sweat. The alien woman's eyes were open. She was watching him. "Stop that," he said sharply. "Stay out of my head." But she did not stop. Another image slid into him, this time softer, calmer. He saw a small glowing orb floating between her hands. He felt the warmth of it, like holding the sun in his palms. Then he saw her family again, their faces twisted with fear, their eyes filled with judgment. The vision broke. The scavenger leaned forward, breathing hard. "So, that's it. You have something inside you, something they feared." Her lips trembled, but no words came. She could not speak. Instead, her eyes begged him to understand. He paced the small shack, his boots heavy on the metal floor. "I should have known. Nobody abandons their own blood unless they're terrified. Whatever you are, it's dangerous." She blinked slowly. "Why?" "Me?" he muttered. "Why show me all this?" Again, a whisper entered his head. Not sound, just a thought. "Because you stayed." The scavenger froze. His stomach tightened. He was not chosen because of strength or power or knowledge. He was chosen because he made a single human choice. He did not walk away. He sat down again, looking into her silver eyes. "Fine, but if you want me to believe in you, then show me. Show me what you really are." For a moment, nothing happened. Her body remained still, paralyzed, broken. Then her eyes glowed faintly, like moons underwater. The air in the room shifted. The heater flickered. Tools on the wall rattled. A faint hum filled the air, deep and ancient. The scavenger's skin prickled. His hair stood on end. "What the hell are you doing?" Then he saw it, the cloth covering. Her chest began to glow. A pattern of light spread across her skin, like constellations waking from sleep. Her body did not move, but something moved around her, an invisible field. Soft but powerful, pressing against the walls. The scavenger stumbled back, knocking over a pile of metal parts. His heart pounded. His voice broke. You're not just alien, you're a weapon. Her eyes dimmed, and the glow faded. The room fell silent again. She lay still, her body trembling from the effort. He slowly stepped closer, fear mixing with awe. He had scavenged broken machines his whole life, but this was different. This was alive. This was power that could crush cities or save them. The alien woman looked at him, her lips forming a single broken word. Safe. The scavenger frowned. Safe? You're not safe. You're a storm, waiting to happen. But she shook her head weakly. Another vision touched his mind. He saw her standing tall, her paralysis gone, her hands raised not in anger, but in protection. Around her were humans, small and fragile. She shielded them from fire raining from the sky. The image ended. The scavenger swallowed hard. His hands were shaking. You want me to believe you'll protect us? That you're not a weapon? That you're hope? She blinked once. The room was quiet again, but his thoughts were loud. If she was telling the truth, then saving her was more important than anything he had ever done. But if she was lying, if she lost control of this power, then he had just brought the end of his world into his own home. He looked at her one more time, his voice low. If I stay with you, it means fighting whoever wants you gone. And it means facing whatever lives inside you. Do you understand that? Her eyes glowed faintly, answering without words. The scavenger sat down beside her, his decision heavy but final. All right, I'll protect you, but you better be worth it. He turned off the heater's light and let the darkness fill the shack. Outside, the night was still. But far beyond the junkyard, in the black sky, engines roared. Her family had not finished with her. They were coming back. And this time, they would not leave until she was truly gone. The junkyard was never silent for long. Metal creaked when the wind passed. Rats scratched under the piles. Old engines sometimes groaned like dying beasts. But tonight, the scavenger noticed something different. The silence was too deep. He stepped outside his shack, the cold air biting. His skin, he looked at the sky. The twin moons glowed, but their light was broken by shadows. Moving shadows dot ships, 3 of them, not human ships. Sleek, silver, and glowing with symbols that looked like burning stars. They circled above the junkyard, slow and careful, like hunters smelling blood. The scavenger's stomach dropped. They're here, he whispered. Inside the shack, the alien woman's eyes snapped open. She had felt it too. Her body did not move, but her gaze sharpened, filled with fear. In his head, her voice came soft but urgent. Hide, the scavenger rushed back inside. Hide? Where? This place is a metal coffin. If they find us, we're done. Her eyes glowed faintly. Another thought pressed into his mind. They are not searching for life. They are searching for me. The scavenger cursed. Great. That makes it better. They're not looking for humans. They're looking for you. Which means if they find me with you, I'm dead anyway. He grabbed a blanket, threw it over her glowing skin, and shut off the heater. Darkness swallowed the shack. His heart hammered. As he listened, the sound came first heavy engines, lowering. Then the ground shook as the ships landed nearby. Dust rained from the shack's ceiling. And then? Footsteps, not human footsteps. Heavy, metallic, echoing like drums of war. The scavenger held his breath. He peeked through a crack in the shack's wall. Figures moved through the junkyard tall. Silver, their eyes glowing cold blue. They carried long weapons that hummed in the air. Their movements were sharp, too perfect. Like machines wearing the skin of gods, the alien woman's voice pressed into his mind again. They are my blood, my family. But they are not here to save me. They are here to erase me. The scavengers. Throat went dry. Your own family wants you dead. Her eyes shone with sorrow. They fear what I carry. A sudden noise snapped his attention. One of the tall aliens had stopped near the shack. Its head turned slowly, scanning the shadows. A beam of light swept across the walls. The scavenger's muscles tensed. He grabbed a broken pipe, the only weapon he had, though it was useless against creatures like this. The alien outside paused. Its glowing eyes narrowed. Then, in a voice colder than ice, it spoke in a strange tongue. Another voice answered from the dark, sharp, commanding. The scavenger didn't understand the words, but he understood the meaning. Orders, search. Destroy, he turned to the woman. If they open this door, we're finished. Can't you use that power of yours? Her eyes dimmed. Not yet. Too weak, he pressed his forehead against the cold wall. His mind raced. He had no guns, no soldiers, no plan. Just a broken shack. Dying alien and himself. Then he remembered the tunnels. Long ago, he had dug small tunnels under the junk piles to hide things he didn't want other scavengers to find. They were narrow and dark, but they led far away from his shack. His only chance. He knelt beside the woman. Listen, I can't fight them, but I can move you. There's a tunnel under the floor. It might get us out. Her lips parted, trembling. Danger? He almost laughed, a bitter sound. Everything's danger right now. He pulled aside a metal plate on the floor, revealing a black hole just wide enough for one person to crawl. The air smelled of dirt and oil. The ground outside shook again. The footsteps were closer. He looked at her, his eyes fierce. We either hide in here or we die in here. Choose. Her gaze met his. And for the first time, he saw not just fear in her eyes, but trust. He slid his arms under her body, lifting her carefully. She was still weak, but her faint glow lit the tunnel-like starlight. He lowered her down, then climbed in after her, pulling the metal plates shut above them. Darkness, the tunnel was tight. He crawled on elbows and knees, dragging her body slowly behind him. Each breath was heavy. Each movement sent echoes of dirt crumbling. Then, above them, came the sound. The shack door burst open. Metal crashed. Voices shouted. Footsteps stomped. Inside, the scavenger froze, holding his breath. The alien woman's eyes glowed faintly in the dark, and she pressed one thought into his mind. They will not stop. They will burn everything until they find me. The scavenger gritted his teeth. Sweat rolled down his face. Then we don't let them find you. He crawled faster. Behind him, the sound of destruction grew louder, the sound of giants tearing apart his world piece by piece. But in the suffocating dark, he realized something terrifying. It wasn't just her family hunting them. It was something far worse. The tunnel was dark and narrow. Dirt pressed close on every side. The scavenger's hands shook as he dragged the alien woman deeper, his breath harsh in the silence. The sound of the search above them grew fainter, but it did not disappear. The hunters were still out there. He stopped for a moment, chest burning, sweat dripping down his face. I can't keep this up, he muttered. You're too heavy. My arms are finished. The alien woman's eyes glowed faintly in the dark. She could not speak, but her gaze told him everything: fear, pain, but also something else. Trust. He wiped dirt from his forehead. Don't look at me like that. I'm not a hero. I'm just a fool, trying not to die. Still, he kept moving. At last, the tunnel opened into a small underground space he had dug long ago. It was nothing but stone walls and a few broken crates. But here, at least, they could breathe. He laid her gently on the ground and collapsed beside her, panting. For a long time, there was only silence. Then her voice brushed into his mind, soft as a whisper. You saved me again. He let out a dry laugh. Saved? I'm not sure about that. Dragging you into a hole doesn't feel like saving. You stayed, she answered. The words struck deeper than he expected. He stared at her glowing eyes. The only light in the cave. Why do you keep saying that? That I stayed, like it matters. Because everyone else left. The scavenger's chest tightened. He thought of her visions, her own family abandoning her in the junkyard. He thought of the way she had cried, paralyzed, helpless. He thought of how many times he himself had been left behind in this life, with nothing but scraps and shadows. Slowly, his anger softened. He reached into his pack, pulled out a piece of stale bread, and chewed. After a moment, he broke off half and placed it beside her. I know you can't eat this, but it's all I have. Sharing's the best I can do. Her lips trembled, and for the first time, a faint sound escaped her throat. A laugh. Weak, broken, but real. The scavenger froze, then smiled despite himself. Don't laugh at my food. It's kept me alive this long. Her eyes softened. Another thought reached him, gentle this time. You are strange. You fear me, but you care for me. He sighed. Maybe I'm just too stupid to know when to run. Silence filled the cave again, but it was no longer heavy. Something had shifted. Not just survival now. Something more. The scavenger leaned back against the wall. If I'm risking my life for you, I should at least know your name. Do you even have one? Her eyes glowed brighter. A wave of warmth pressed into his mind, forming a single word. Lyra. He repeated it slowly. Lyra. Her glow flickered in agreement. For the first time, she was not just alien. She was Lyra. He nodded once. Fine, Lyra. I'm Kale. The bond between them tightened, invisible but unbreakable. But their quiet moment did not last. A sudden boom shook the ground. Dust rained from the cave ceiling. Kale jumped up, eyes wide. Up. They're blasting the junkyard. Up. They're tearing everything apart to smoke us out. Lyra's gaze darkened. They will not stop. Not until I am gone. Kale gritted his teeth. Then we need to be ready. He opened one of the crates in the cave. Inside were scraps he had hidden years ago, metal pipes, broken circuits, pieces of old weapons. Junk to most. But to Kale, it was survival. He began to work, his hands fast, his mind sharp. He twisted wires, hammered metal, built traps from nothing. Lyra watched him, her eyes glowing softly. She sent another thought into his head. Why do this? You could leave me here. Save yourself. Kale stopped, looking at her with fire in his eyes. Because I don't leave people behind. Not anymore. Her gaze softened again. And this time, the bond between them was no longer just survival. It was trust. Hours passed. Kale worked without rest, shaping junk into weapons. A crossbow made from a broken spring. A blade sharpened from ship steel. Small traps rigged with wires and sparks. Finally, he sat down, exhausted but ready. He looked at Lyra. If they come down here, I'll fight. I don't care if they're gods in silver skin. They'll have to get through me first. Her eyes glowed brighter than ever. A thought pressed into his mind, clear and strong. Not just you. Us. Kale blinked. Us. Her body trembled, and for the first time, her hand twitched. Just a little, but enough. The glow around her grew faintly stronger. Kale's heart raced. You're healing. You're coming back. Her gaze met his. Together, she whispered into his mind. The ground shook again, louder this time. Rocks cracked. Voices echoed above. Kale tightened his grip on the makeshift crossbow. Then together it is. And in that dark cave, surrounded by dust and danger, man and alien Kale and Lyra were no longer strangers. They were partners, a bond forged not by blood, but by survival. A bond that even death would have to fight to break. The ground shook all night. Above the cave, the hunters tore through the junkyard, searching. Every explosion sent dust falling. Every rumble made the walls crack. But inside the small cavern, something far stranger was happening. Lyra was changing. Kale sat close, his crossbow in hand, watching her glow. It was faint at first, only in her eyes. But then it spread, crawling across her skin like starlight returning to a dead sky. The silver patterns on her body, once dull, began to shine. He leaned forward. "What's happening to you?" Her lips parted, but no sound came. Instead, her voice touched his mind. "The weakness is leaving." Kale frowned. "You mean your paralysis?" Her eyes closed. Her chest rose and fell in deep rhythm. Around her, the air grew heavy, pressing against Kale's skin. Sparks danced across the broken crates. The small blade he had sharpened trembled on the ground as if pulled by invisible hands. Kale's heart pounded. He had seen machines come, alive in storms. He had seen reactors explode. But this was different. This was alive. "Lyra," he whispered, fear creeping into his voice. "Are you in control of this?" Her eyes opened, glowing brighter than fire. "I am trying to be." A crack of light spread across the cave floor. Kale staggered back, shielding his face. It wasn't heat, it was pressure, like standing near a star. The dirt shook loose stones, tumbled, and the tunnel walls groaned. "Stop," Kale shouted. "You'll bring the whole cave down." The glow dimmed for a moment. Lyra gasped, her body shaking with effort. Sweat, something like silver liquid, drooled down her skin. Kale dropped to his knees beside her. "You're killing yourself. Slow down." Her gaze found his, and a whisper filled his mind again. "If I do not awaken, we die." The words cut deep. He wanted to argue, but outside, the muffled thunder of alien weapons grew closer. She was right. If she stayed broken, they had no chance. He swallowed hard. "Then do it. But do it with me. Keep you grounded. Just don't lose yourself." Her breathing slowed. Her hand weak, trembling rose a few inches off the ground. For the first time, her fingers brushed his wrist. It was the lightest touch, but to Kale it felt like a promise, and then the storm began. The glow burst from her body, filling the cave with white fire. Dust spun in the air like stars. The broken weapons Kale had built rose from the ground, hovering. His hair whipped around his face, his skin stung with raw energy. Kale shouted, but his voice was lost in the roar. The sound was not just in his ears, was in his bones. Lyra floated inches above the stone floor. Her paralyzed body no longer bound. The silver patterns on her skin blazed like constellations. Her hair rose around her head, glowing like a crown of light. Kale fell back, staring in awe. She was no longer broken, no longer weak. She was something else now, something terrifying and beautiful. The cave walls cracked, rocks fell, but the energy around her held them back, forming a shield that kept the ceiling from collapsing. Kale crawled closer, shouting over the storm. "Lyra, can you hear me?" Her head turned slowly. Her eyes glowed like suns. "I hear you." Her voice thundered inside his mind. No longer weak, but strong, fierce. "I am whole again." Kale's chest tightened. "Then stop before you tear this place apart." The glow softened. The roar faded. Slowly, her body lowered back to the ground. She lay still for a moment, breathing hard, the shine on her skin dimming. Kale rushed to her side, gripping her shoulders. "Are you all right?" Her lips moved. This time, sound came out soft, broken, but real. Cale. His eyes widened. You spoke. Her voice was fragile, but it carried warmth. You stayed. Cale almost laughed, relief flooding him. Damn right I stayed. But before he could say more, the ground above exploded. The cavern ceiling shook violently. Dust poured down. The voices of the hunters echoed through the tunnels, cold, merciless. Lyra's glow returned, faint but steady. She pushed a single thought into his mind. Now I am ready. Cale tightened his grip on the crossbow. Then, let's make them regret coming here. And as the ceiling cracked open and shadows fell into the cave, Cale realized the truth. Lyra was no longer just a broken alien abandoned by her family. She was a storm, and she was his storm. The cave roof split open with a roar. Stone rained down, light flooded in, and shadows dropped through the dust. The hunters had found them. Cale rose to his feet, crossbow tight in his hands. His heart hammered like a drum. Beside him, Lyra glowed. Faintly, her body no longer broken but still fragile from her awakening. Silver giants landed in the cavern her family. Their eyes burned blue, their weapons humming with deadly power. They moved in perfect unison, like wolves closing in on prey. One of them stepped forward, taller than the rest. Its voice echoed cold through the cave. Lyra, daughter of our blood, you were warned. You should not exist. Lyra's eyes glowed brighter. She lifted her head, her voice shaky but filled with defiance. You left me to die, but I am still. Here, the leader's weapon lit up, its hum sharp and cruel. Not for long, Cale stepped in front of her. His crossbow looked like a toy compared to their weapons, but his eyes burned with fire. If you want her, you'll have to go through me. The silver giants tilted their heads, almost curious. Then, as one, they raised their weapons. Cale pulled the trigger. The bolt flew, striking one of them in the throat. Sparks burst, and the giant stumbled. It was not dead, but it was wounded. The cave exploded into chaos. The hunters fired beams of light, tearing holes in the stone. Cale dove, rolled, and fired again, his traps sparking to life. One of his wire snares caught a giant's leg, sending it crashing down. But there were too many. For every one he slowed, two more advanced. Behind him, Lyra's glow intensified. She rose slowly from the ground, her silver patterns blazing like constellations. The storm inside her was awake. She lifted her hand. The air screamed. Weapons tore from the hunter's grips and slammed against the walls. Rocks lifted from the ground and spun like blades. A shockwave burst outward, throwing giants against the stone. Cale shielded his face, his hair whipped by invisible winds. He looked at her in awe. Lyra. Her voice thundered in his mind, stronger than ever. I will not be erased, not by them, not by anyone. She unleashed her power. Light filled the cavern, a storm of stars tearing through the silver giants. Their armor cracked, their weapons shattered. Their screams echoed like breaking glass. Cale fought beside her, his bolts flying, his traps exploding. Man and alien, side by side, against a family that wanted only death. But the leader still stood. Burned, broken, but unyielding. It raised its weapon, aiming not at Lyra but at Cale. Lyra's eyes widened. She saw the beam charge, too fast too. Stop, Cale. The scavenger turned. The light fired. He braced for death, but it never came. Lyra had moved. For the first time since he found her, she ran. Her body, once paralyzed, now moved with fury. She threw herself in front of him. The beam struck her chest. She cried out, the sound shaking the cavern. Her glow flared, then dimmed. She fell too. Her knees, smoke rising from her body. "Lyra," Cale screamed, catching her before she hit the ground. Her eyes flickered, weak again, but she smiled. "I told you." Together. The leader stepped forward, weapon raised for the final strike. Cale's rage burned hotter than fire. He dropped the crossbow, grabbed a broken blade, and charged. He swung with every ounce of strength left in him, plunging the weapon into the giant's chest. The leader staggered. Lyra's glow returned, faint but fierce. She raised her hand one last time. A starburst of light exploded from her body, consuming the leader in fire. The cavern shook. The hunters screamed and vanished in the blaze. Then silence. Dust settled. The air was heavy with smoke. The hunters were gone. Cale fell to his knees, Lyra in his arms. Her glow flickered like a dying flame. His eyes filled with tears. "Don't you dare leave me now. Not after all this." Her hand brushed his cheek. "Weak but gentle. You stayed when no one else did. That is enough." "No," Cale said fiercely. "It's not enough. You live. You hear me? You live." Her eyes closed, her breathing shallow. For a moment, Cale thought she was gone. But then her glow steadied, faint but alive. She whispered one last word. "Free." Cale held her close, his chest heaving with relief. Above them, the cavern ceiling cracked open, and for the first time, dawn light spilled inside. The junkyard was no longer a graveyard. It was the place where a paralyzed alien rose again, and where a broken man found purpose. Together, they had faced death. Together, they had won Dot, and in the ruins of betrayal, a new story began.